All right, hello everyone, and welcome to Helicon West. This is part 2 of the summer events. Our next one will be in July. Is it July 20 something? I'll look that up. Yeah, July 20 something. I see a lot of familiar faces. Welcome back. The sign-up sheet is just over there, although I'll actually be grabbing it in a second, so it'll be over here. So if you need it, just wave me down. We have spots left. And thanks to the Logan Library for getting all this set up for us.
Yay, library!
Woo! Yeah. Yay, library!
Yay, Carol! We were just thanking you when you appeared.
Yeah. We have free coffee up here from Cafe Ibis. It's super good, so make sure to get some of that. Every reader has 7 minutes. And this is an uncensored event, but if you go over 7 minutes, we will clap you off. So just keep that in mind. I'll try and give you a little warning. I'll also be video recording over here. So if you are an open mic reader and you don't want to be recorded, just let me know and I can turn it off before you go up. Okay, perfect. And I know Star has an announcement real quick for us. This is Star.
Hi everyone, I'm Star. So we have our new Helicon West broadsides. The June edition has a contributor, Chad Van Zanten, with The Way You Know. He's not usually a poetry writer. He usually writes fiction, some non-fiction, but there's a poem in this one, and next month we'll have another of his poems. The art is by Brenda Hawley, and Tasha Urban does the design. And if you're interested in buying one of these, they're $2. Thanks.
Perfect. Thanks, Star. Alrighty, so I will just be over here with the list. If you want it, wave me down. But our first 3 readers tonight will be Chelsea Beck, Rex Lambert, and Brittany Allen. Yeah, go ahead, Chelsea.
Hi everyone, I'm Chelsea, and I'm going to read an essay tonight that I wrote a little while back. I don't think I'll have time to read the whole thing. I'm going to start about halfway through. So just for some context, I'm about 7 years old at the time, and I was with my family at Park City. I don't know if you guys, I don't even know if they still have it, but they had like this roller coaster that came down the mountain. You went down this roller coaster on a toboggan, and I really didn't want to go on it, but my dad insisted, and I really trusted him at the time, and he gave me this incentive that if I went on this ride that he would buy me these books I've been wanting, so that's how he got me on. And so I'm going to start. We are on the ski lift heading up the mountain, and my sister is Valerie. Mom takes off Valerie's flip-flops and tucks them securely under her arm. She does this because, at age 3, my little sister is prone to displacing her belongings, and she can't be trusted not to let them slip off. If you lose them up here, Mom tells her, they'll be lost forever. Forever. After nearly an hour, our ski lift reaches the top of the mountain. The summer sun has fallen to the wayside, casting an orange glow over the horizon. Still, there's plenty of daylight to see us to the bottom. Standing at the ride entrance is a young man who greets us with a big tooth grin and 2 toboggans that match his blue polo shirt. Toot toot toboggan, he chirps, handing each parent a toboggan as we exit the ski lift. Push on the lever to go faster and pull back to slow down. Oh, he jabs a finger towards the twin slides that wait for us to the right. And be especially careful on those turns. If you don't slow down around corners, you could risk flipping. Tears rise to the surface of my eyes, threatening to fall. As we head towards the racetracks, I turn to my mom and whisper, I think I better go with you. Daddy might go fast. I don't want him to. Please don't make me go with him, Mommy, please. Dad overhears my words, rolling his eyes. Chelsea, don't worry. We'll go as slow as you want, I promise. And remember, you'll be getting some new books out of this. Mom sighs and looks down at me. I think Dad wants you to go with him, she murmurs. He won't do anything stupid, honey. Yeah, Mom's right, Dad agrees, taking me by the hand. I know you're scared, Chelsea, but I promise, I swear, that you will not get hurt on this ride today. Do you really think your dad would let that happen to you? He places the toboggan down on the right-hand track, situates himself on it, and gestures for me to take a seat in front of him. Across from us on the twin track, Mom and Valerie get ready on their toboggan. I still don't understand why Dad's forcing me into the ride. Perhaps it's because he sees too much of himself in me, sees too much of the little scaredy cat who, during his childhood, fully rejected amusement park rides and only needed to be shown the light. Family legend has it that when I was born, he showed me off to every person in the parking lot outside the hospital. He just wants you to be like him, Mom always told me. You ready? Dad calls to the others. We'll go first. In front of us, the slide dips over the horizon. I can't see what's ahead, and that frightens me. Upon receiving the thumbs up from Mom, Dad slams the toboggan handle down and we shoot forward. I barely have time to process what's happening. We're moving so fast. Slow down, I scream, but my desperate pleas are drowned out by my father's roaring laughter. My head jerks from side to side with the turns. Wahoo, he hollers. Isn't this fun? We take the curve sharply, rising out of our seat with each one. I maintain a death grip on the lower half of the lever. Internally, I pray for the nightmare to be over. And then it happens. As we turn another curve, our toboggan comes out from underneath us, sending me into the left side of the track and Dad into the grassy median separating the two slides. Next thing I know, I hear his laughter again, but I don't look over at him. Instead, bracing my body with scraped, bloody hands, I lift myself up. It's only then that I realize I'm bleeding from my face and chin as well. Dad, still cackling, goes to fetch the toboggan. It rests near the edge of the median, only a few feet from where he landed. He doesn't care that I'm crying uncontrollably or banged up like I've never been banged up before. No, to him it's all a big joke. Come on, Chelsea, he bellows, pulling me back onto the toboggan. I want to walk, I gasp, choking on my own sobs. My face is numb, but I can feel blood dripping from my nose into my mouth. I'll walk the rest of the way. You lied. He is persistent. No, you're not going to walk. We're almost to the bottom anyway. It'll be okay. Just think of your new books. You'll be getting them when I get paid on Friday. My willpower is weakened by my injuries, and I make no effort to escape. The last thing I see before we roll forward is the flesh, our flesh, that clings to the side of the track. A spontaneous, gruesome vision of meatless lasagna flashes in my mind, and I wail even harder as the reality of what's happened to us begins to sink in. It doesn't matter that the remainder of our descent down the mountain is smooth and easy, or that when I tell my dad to go slow, he does. It's too late. Waiting for us at the plaza are Val and Mom, unscathed and beaming. Mom runs to greet us, but quickly loses her smile as we come into view. What happened? She demands, scooping me up and examining my bloody spots. He went fast, I whisper. We crashed. My parents do not speak to each other on the walk back to the car. Valerie, unaffected by the incident, skips ahead of us through the parking lot, her Disney princess flip-flops clapping against the pavement. We stop at a nearby Walmart to clean ourselves up. Mom slaps Band-Aids on my chin and hands and tells me, Dad didn't mean to hurt you. He made a dumb mistake. You can forgive him, can't you? 5 years later, at my 12th birthday party, a friend would notice the shape of the scar that wraps my left hand from the base of my palm to the space in between my pinky and ring fingers. That's so cool, she'd say, pointing out its remarkable similarity to the continent of South America. At my high school graduation, the scar, nearly faded, would only be visible to those with a sharp eye. And after the ceremony, my dad would be waiting for me outside the arena as promised, so I wouldn't find myself completely lost in the exodus of crimson and gold. But on the day I received that scar, I grabbed the piggy bank from the top of my dresser as soon as we got home from Park City. I pluck out every last coin and dollar it contains and count each piece with care. So far, I have saved a total of $13.24, which is close to the amount I'll need for my books. A lot has changed that afternoon, but the one thing that hasn't is my desire to own the All-American Puppies box set. And I know that if I truly want those books, I will inevitably end up having to rely on my own wits to earn them. Thanks.
All right, Rex, here goes.
Okay. I sense a theme going tonight because the poem that I'd like to read tonight is also about a childhood memory. A very different kind of memory, but still a childhood memory. My name is Rex Lambert, and I'm up here for the summer with the Summer Citizens. And Star, I was going to take your class. I was signed up, but unfortunately...
Your name looked familiar.
Yes.
So I don't, oh,
Yes.
darn.
Anyway.
Maybe next summer.
Maybe next summer. Yeah. So this is a poem called The Short Unlucky Life of John Thomas the Cat. And I wrote this last month while in the throes of shingles on my face. It was probably the worst thing that's ever happened to me in my entire life in terms of an illness. And for whatever reason, sitting in a chair trying to recover from this thing, this particular memory came back, and the poem came out. We'll see if you like it. The Short Unlucky Life of John Thomas the Cat. When you were born a black cat, your luck in life might be good now. But when I was a kid, it was more likely to be bad because, you know, people were very superstitious back then, especially country folk like us. And black cats had a reputation for bringing bad luck if one should cross your path. In those days, if you were a black cat, it paid to be on your best behavior and not become too familiar, if you'll pardon the pun, with either the devil or those who fed you. Well, John Thomas must have thought he'd died and gone to heaven when my father took him in. 3 meals a day, a warm bed, an open door to come and go as he pleased. That much they had in common. Surely his luck had turned. Being just a cat, he had no reason to suspect otherwise. If he needed affection, which wasn't often, he would jump into his namesake's lap, my great-grandfather, Mr. John Thomas, who spent his days insensate from a stroke, under a lap rug, in a rocker that never moved. To be truthful, though, I was always ambivalent about John Thomas. You see, in those days, pets were just animals, and not humans like they are today. No one gave them a second thought. You were not expected or encouraged to love them. They were just background to the passing scene. But that anonymity seemed to suit John Thomas just fine. He was not a lovable or loving cat, and I suspect he was ambivalent about us too. We were just a lucky meal ticket for an animal that had given up caring for itself. But here's where the story gets interesting. My father, back in the Army and France again after World War II, and college on the GI Bill, is now a newly minted captain, eager to please. Hope can spring eternal even in a dead man's heart, and so my father's aspirations somehow survived his burned-out Sherman tank, the only man alive from the crew he once commanded. Of course, John Thomas knew nothing of this. How could he? You might say it was a fresh start for my father, not to excuse what he did that fateful spring day. Judge for yourself if John Thomas deserved what he got. It was April in post-war Paris, a warm and sunny Sunday, the day John Thomas died. It might sound cliched, but in those days, children and pets were seen and not heard. And so it was that my sister and I, and John Thomas, sat silently in the bustling parlor as cocktail hour unfolded. My father was hosting his new commander and fellow officers for the first time, and everything had to be just so. Mother was in the kitchen fixing Sunday dinner. My father was in the parlor mixing drinks. Everyone was laughing and spirits were high. But when my mother set down the biggest, most beautiful roast he had ever seen, John Thomas's fate was sealed. His luck had just run out. Presto, in the blink of an eye, John Thomas stood atop our magnificent roast like the cat possessed he was. And there he stayed for the final moments of a short, unlucky life, defiant, his black back arched, hissing at us, his claws sunk deep in the succulent flesh as if his life depended on not letting go. You might think he was ungrateful, that cat, but I knew better. Cats don't commit suicide like people do. I watched my father grab John Thomas with one swift hand and his .45 from a drawer with the other, and I knew what was coming. Out the back door they went, John Thomas still clinging to the roast, my father's cat-calling friends stumbling after them. And it did come. Just one shot. That's all I can remember. Thank you.
do us a favor and not write about my childhood. Just kidding. Oh, that was sad. Does anyone else want to sign up for open mic? We've got a few more spots left. Okay, sounds good. Okay, I've been doing a lot of reading this summer, actually. I got a job working like front desk at an inn. There's a lot of downtime, a lot of reading time. So I've been reading a lot. And a poet that was really easy for me to get into was actually Rumi. So I've been reading a lot of him, and I've been trying to imitate him a little bit. So here's a couple different little poems. If I Wrote Like Rumi is the title. I'm great. Our children would point up at the sky and ask, "What's that?" Because I would paint the moon as the speck in your left eye, and they will have grown so sure in the halo of our love, counting the shooting stars that fly from their mother's lips to better light their father when his sky falls dark. In the night sky, they would only recognize an imitation of our smiles. Trip. And then this next one doesn't have a title yet, but I read Rumi to remember the delicately mad tone of your love. I'm sure Rumi cried in a bar once, before he kissed the froth of his beer, sitting across the pockmarked table from his beloved, picking her label to shreds. I'm going to marry you, his words sob. And the next three readers we have signed up.
Wait, we need to, you're done.
All right, so then we'll just get going with Ronald Jensen, Mark Smeltzer, perfect, and our own star.
From Ruckles. Dad Neil. We both born October 1st, 20 years apart. We both had great love for your sweethearts. Both died shortly after Memorial Day. We probably missed your wives on that commemorative day. You're two great men who left this life to be reunited with your wives. From Ruckles, remembering when. I still remember how it was back when. I thought to visit you on Father's Day weekend. You told me the news, but it might have been hurt. You asked me if I